I am very excited about our next guest. Why? Because she's a mermaid. Well, she was a mermaid. With us now is Linda Fostek. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Donna. How are you?
Fantastic. So you lived 3.5 years, right, on an island. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the fact that you've written all these books. We're going to be talking about the fact that you met your second husband literally under the sea.
Yeah.
Right? So let's start with your book. So this first book is called And Now What? It's a life planner and survivor's checklist.
Exactly.
What is this book and how did it come about?
Well, basically, everybody needs to have a plan for disasters.
Okay.
And whether it's a personal disaster or a natural disaster, we've all experienced them. You know, loss of a loved one, divorce, illness, Sandy, and how many of us aren't prepared?
Okay.
Or how many of us wouldn't know where all our paperwork is?
Right.
So this book actually helps you organize your paperwork. You put all the information in one place. It gives you a list of all the documents that you need. And then it also takes you through the process that when you do lose somebody, what to do, what not to do, and then it talks about the healing afterwards. So it is a total life planner. But the beauty of this is if you put all of your documents together with that book, tell your family members where they can find it, then they can know and find and get all that emotional chaos that happens when you don't know where everything is.
Right.
And they can actually get through the healing process they need to do and the grieving process that they may need to do. So it's a really nice tool. Everybody should have one.
Yeah,
really.
and it's nice. It's very simple. It's very easy to understand. It's just kind of like, all right, you write down the information and it's nice, easy paperback little piece that goes with all of your important papers.
Exactly.
My kids all know that my life insurance policy is on top of the fireplace in this box. But this would definitely be a nice companion piece to just fill it out and stick it right
and
there.
Really, the last page really spells out my philosophy of life, which is, it doesn't matter whose child you were or who you were married to. Unexpected things are going to happen, and your life isn't over when those people are no longer with you. I've just experienced a loss myself. My husband just passed away at the end of last month. And
literally like 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
Linda. And I'm so glad that you're joining us. I'm really happy that you're here.
But when you ask yourself, and now what? You might just be surprised at the answer because you don't know what the rest of your life is going to be. And it just comes together with what your whole show is about. It's about moving forward with your life and celebrating life every day because there's magic in it every day.
In fact, I had shared with you in the green room, and I don't mind sharing it with my audience. Some of them already know the story and some of them don't, but my husband, Tom, wrote a song, "Life is only what you make of it." And so Live It Up, it was short for that. And when I had the first dream, and the television show came to me in a dream, it would have been on what would have been our wedding anniversary. It was on December 28th of 2008. And I woke up from this profound dream, dreaming the whole thing in color. And I was like, wow, what was that? And then I was like, well, what do I call it? And I just looked at Tom's song title. I said, "Live It Up," and that was it. So, and things do happen. So you took that workbook and you created a bigger book that I'm just going to,
yes.
Just censor slightly. Yes, because you were also censored in the library, right?
Yes, I was.
So it happens. I could even do it like this. There you go. Live it up, and it happens.
It happens.
So it happens. Tell us about this book. This is a little longer, a little more in-depth.
Well, it's more of a reference book, where
Okay.
this is a workbook. This is kind of the reference book, and it's actually set up by category of each of the different types of disasters. And probably one of the chapters in there that's really important, which we all have difficulty with, is talking to your parents about what they want and what their plans are. It's a very difficult subject, and one of the things I tell them is that if you bring it up to your parents this way, say, "I found this great book and it helped me organize all my stuff. I got one for you and I think it's going to help you." It's completely non-threatening.
Yes.
Because parents get a little paranoid sometimes. Are you after my money, or what are you doing?
No, and even people on our staff, that is one of the things that we've been talking about, is that we are the sandwich generation. We're still taking care of the people that are, that we're still responsible for, whether they're grade school age or college age, as well as our parents, and we're just trying to make all of that balance and all of that information come through. And sometimes people are very sensitive about it.
Exactly.
That's a great way to just say, hey, by the way, I did this so that I could take care of my kids. Just thought you might want a copy of it.
Right, and it's just completely non-threatening, and yet it'll help them go through the thought process. And in a very positive way.
And speaking about being positive, right? You are a certified trainer in the One Philosophy.
Yes,
What
I
is
am.
the One Philosophy? And thank you for the compliment to tell me that I live this philosophy without
well,
even knowing it. So,
You know, the One Philosophy actually was, it's a small little book written by Nancy Matthews. Now, Nancy Matthews is one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network, which is a women's networking and masterminding organization that does so much more. I mean, coaching, it's multiple resources in one place, and it's international, actually. And the One Philosophy is basically treating everybody that you encounter, from the homeless person on the street, the sales clerk, to a CEO, with the kind of respect that you would want to be treated with. And it's just, when you're standing in line in the grocery store, don't be looking at your cell phone. There is a human being in front of you that deserves to be acknowledged as a person. And you compliment their smile, tell them, thank you. That's all they're looking for. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes and what tragedies they've got going on in their lives. You could change somebody's life just by being the one for them in that moment. And you don't know. And it's not about what you get back, because the universe will bring things back to you if you treat everybody that way.
I believe in that 100%. My grandpa Camp Hannah always said there's a reason there's a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. And on the times recently in this past month where I've been a little hectic and things have, and I did catch myself on the cell phone, I actually apologized to the person. I said, I am so sorry. And they're like, oh, no, we understand. But at least there was that acknowledgement of like, I am being completely rude because I'm not at the self-checkout. Right?
Right.
And even if you're at the self-checkout and somebody says to you, oh, do you have a discount card or something? And you just kind of like, especially in New York, I find that sometimes we have such tunnel vision that we block all the chaos out, when sometimes they're trying to just be friendly to you and you're just rude. And I don't, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think this is a good, wake-up call for people.
It's a reminder.
Right.
And one of the most important principles to me is the one about not gossiping.
Okay.
About never, ever, ever gossip. If you can't say somebody nice, I mean, everybody's parents said that. If you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. And don't play into it. And, and it does set you apart, because if you don't play that game, people will recognize that you're not going to play that gossip game.
Yeah.
And it really is about being your best self, and truly living the philosophy of the One has changed my life. Once I read this, I was like, I always kind of lived that way, but now I really focus on it.
And less drama. I mean, there have been times in my life where, maybe something didn't go my way, or maybe a deal went sour, or maybe somebody treated me unkindly or gossiped behind my back, and then all of a sudden you play that victim role. I don't let myself stay as a victim any longer. I just, because then what ends up happening is you get caught, and then you try to retaliate, and then you'll gossip about that person. And all that does is prolong the dankness and the darkness. It's better to just take a moment,
take a deep breath.
Right, and say, okay, this is the challenge, this is the circumstance, I'm going to rise above it. Right? So it does take a little bit of work. I'm not, I can't say I do it 100% of the time, but I'm working toward it,
but
right?
Being aware of it, the cognizance really does make a difference, because being aware of how you're being perceived, and, the hardest thing is not taking things personally, because you're the one who's being hurt by it. The person who said whatever it was that you got upset about, they're gone and they're not even thinking about it, and you're like all wrapped up in this world, and just like you said, you just have to let it go.
And we did talk about the fact that, I said that you had lived on an island. It was 1.5 miles?
1.2 square miles of land.
3.5 years.
Yes. The highest elevation was 6 feet above sea level. My trailer was right on the seawall, overlooking the lagoon. And when we had a typhoon with 15-foot waves breaking on the seawall in front of my trailer, I almost launched it, as a boat. But fortunately, some barges broke loose and kind of blocked the waves from coming in.
And you were able to survive that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I asked you in the green room too. I said, "Well, were you a nudist?" I was like, "Did you go? What is this like, desert island?" So they could
No,
just,
actually, I learned to
endless
scuba
love or
dive
something,
then.
but-
I learned to scuba dive while I was there.
And then you met your second husband because you were scuba diving, and how did that work out? And I just want to wrap up with that because that's such a cute story.
Yeah, well, we actually had met because we were both in the same scuba club here on Long Island, and I was planning a trip to Bonaire, so I called him because I knew he was traveling, and he's like, "Well, who's going?" And he's like, "Well, what about Bob?" Because that's who I was married to before, and he's like, I said, "Well, I'm not married to him anymore." Well, the next day there was an invitation to a pig roast, and to bring macaroni salad. Who knew that it was a test? Thank God I made homemade macaroni salad. But I was the only guest that he invited to this pig roast that he had. His sister invited about 60 people, but he invited me.
You.
And on our first date, he asked me to marry him.
On your first date, over your macaroni salad? That must have been some
I
macaroni
was like,
salad.
really, some date, right?
Oh,
He
and
told me he was going to marry me, and he was right.
And we honor his memory, and I know
Absolutely.
that it's a recent that he
Yes.
crossed over. But thank you very much for joining us today. Your books are inspirational; they're so helpful. And Linda, we wish you all the best and all much future success for you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for
Donna.
joining us. So if you would like to get one of Linda's books, you can reach out to her through her website or through us at liveituptvshow.com. And whatever the challenges are that you're facing, we hope that this brought you a little bit of peace, a little bit of joy, knowing that you can overcome anything. Thanks for watching.